share 99% of our DNA. You, me, everybody in this room, we share 99%. But we only share 5% of our gut DNA with each other. So the microbiome is unique unto itself. Each person has its own unique microbiome. And that is really important. And that's one of the reasons one size does not fit all when you're working to optimize your microbiome. And that's something to pay attention to, because you say, oh, well, you watch these commercials and say, well, just take this and you'll be fine. It doesn't work that way. The intricacies of the microbiome are deep and profound. And really, in balancing the microbiome, we need to take a number of factors into play. And that's what we're going to go into tonight. Now, I was studying microbiomes, and I went back and did some research, and it turns out their hunter-gatherers had a much, much healthier and diverse microbiome than what we have now. And it turns out in developing countries, the microbiome is different than people in Western cultures. So the microbiome is just totally unique. Now, I was looking back at the hunter-gatherers, and there was these tribes, and it's one tribe is, I can find it here, the Hadza. And the Hadza are a member of the Maasai family. And when they look at the guts of these Hadzas, they have actually 4 times more microbes in their gut than the Western populations. They have this very, very rich, diverse gut. And they're one of the healthiest people on the planet. They don't get sick unless they run into a tiger. So it's very, very interesting. So it looks like that when we eat the Western diet as it is actually decreasing our gut microbiome flora. They also did a study, and they had some researchers go and live in the tribes, in the native tribes in Africa, and they tested their gut microbiome beforehand. They had them live for 10 days, eating the natural tribal diet, and then retested their guts, and in 10 days, their gut diversity increased by 25%. That is profound. Just by switching the diet. That's all they did, was eat the traditional native diet, and their guts got better. So it just says a lot of what we can do to make our microbiomes even healthier and more diverse. And that's what you want. Okay. Very diverse. So you need to know that your gut interacts with every single organ in your body. It's the gut that talks to the heart, it's the gut that talks to the brain, it's the gut who talks to your liver, it's the gut who talks to the adrenals. This is where the communication begins. And this is one of the reasons why we call it the second brain. I think it should be the first brain, because there's so much intelligence going on here. So we're going to take care of our first brain here. Because this, and the communication goes this way. Communication here goes to brain. Communication from here goes to heart. It's not brain to gut, it's the other way around. And then that old expression, listen to your gut, absolutely. There's great wisdom and great intelligence in your gut. These microbiomes are, these little flora, they're smart cookies. They know what they want. They know what they need to do to survive. And I have a bit of a problem when people say, oh, let me kill this off and kill that off and give you antifungals and kill off. You don't want to kill anything off in your gut. You want to nurture and love your gut so it can heal itself. I used to be in the old camp of like, yeah, maybe you need to do this and this. But as I do the research, I more and more love your gut into health. Okay. So, also in these headless, when I looked at their diets that they had, they ate 100 grams of fiber per day. You can only imagine the size of their poop. Where the Western diet, we only eat about 15 grams of fiber a day. Imagine 100 grams of fiber versus 15 grams of fiber. So you probably get the notion that fiber is your friend here. So it is extremely important to have a diversity of gut microbes. And the more, the better. So when you have these imbalances, you have more obesity, more asthma, more autoimmune, more IBS, the list is long. And Hippocrates used to say, all disease begins in the gut. And he also said, let medicine be thy food. He was a wise guy, he really knew something. He was onto something here. So given that, it was really interesting to me of what we can, okay.
Sorry.
Is it too hot in here?
It is without that.
Okay. All right. So when we have a greater diversity of our gut microbes, we are going to have a balanced gut. And so what does this do? The diversity. And what happens is diversity keeps changing. And the gut diversity goes down with age. No fine print. As you get older, you lose gut diversity. And that's extremely important because no one thinks your gut is aging. But guess what? Your gut's aging. I shouldn't get near that. So what it does, it really helps to eliminate disease. In terms of the more the microbes, the pathogens, what we call them, which are actually very few. There's very few pathogens that occur in the gut. And people think, oh, my gut's overloaded with pathogens. No. You have, some people have some pathogens, they can be dealt with, but if you balance out, if you increase the diversity and balance out the flora, you will actually, the gut will rebalance itself and begin to reduce the disease-causing microbes. And that's important to know. It will take care of itself if you feed it properly. That was a very important point. And also, when you have a great diversity, it will stabilize the intestinal barriers. And that's extremely important because if you have stable intestinal barriers, then there's material that will not cross the gut barrier and then get into the bloodstream. And that's actually what happens when you have allergy situations, or we call leaky gut syndrome, where there's microbes, and if they actually cross the gut barrier and get into the body, we call them circulating immune complexes. And they start triggering allergies and various autoimmune situations. So when you have a greater diversity, and you have a lot of microbes, you actually have stimulation of a healthier and healthier immune system. As we age, immune system starts to go downhill, and that's why it's extremely important with the aging process to really keep your gut happy and healthy and feed it properly. Also, you're going to have a lower risk of heart issues, and you're also going to have a greater sense of well-being, because there's also a communication between the gut and the brain. It turns out that we make the majority of our neurotransmitters in our gut, not in our brain. So everyone is taking all these pills, antidepressants and stuff, to deal with depression. Fix the gut. Because it turns out antidepressants only work for a very short period of time, and they increase intestinal barrier problems. So the quick fix is not the answer. We're also, with a diversity of microbes, you're going to have very, very regular elimination. You'll eat and poop, as the native tribes do. That's how Mother Nature intended it. And also, you're going to have very beautiful skin if you have a healthy gut. And you're going to have an increase of your mood, and your brain's going to work better. All for the happy, healthy gut. Alrighty. It also turns out when you have the proper diversity of microbes, it impacts gene expression. And it actually impacts gene expression both in a negative way and a positive way. Eat a not so healthy diet, it'll cause gene expression in a negative way. Eating a really healthy diet and the lifestyle will optimize gene expression. And you'll switch on certain longevity genes just by your diet. And you have the kind of flora that you want. So, all right. Now, there's actually, I mentioned, the microbes are different throughout the body. So, for example, the microbes that live on your skin are going to be different than the microbes that live in your gut. It turns out the environment is extremely important for the microbes. So, for example, the microbes that live on your skin, they want a dry climate. And so those are the ones that are going to live there. The ones that live in your gut want it dark and wet and damp. So they each have their own preferences of what they want. So you can get a sense here that the gut plays an extremely important role in every single aspect of your health. So what disrupts the microbiome? What does the microbiome not like? What makes it go cattywonk? GMOs. GMOs have a very negative impact on your gut microbiome and also on the gut diversity. And so a lot of GMOs in your diet are going to modify gene expression in a negative way, and they're also going to decrease the good guys. And that's important to know.
All GMOs?
All GMOs. There's no fine print here. All GMOs, which is why it's very important to avoid GMOs. Everybody's heard about Roundup, and Roundup functions as an antibiotic in your gut. And that's the problem. Big, big problem. So every time you get exposed to Roundup, you're killing off some of your gut flora. No fine print. Now, the problem is Roundup is ubiquitous in our environment these days. It's everywhere. And it's really kind of hard to avoid it, so it's very important to eat as organic as much as you can. But even we're finding Roundup is showing up in our water, it's showing up everywhere. It's even showing up in the air. So it's very important to do whatever we can to minimize that exposure to the Roundup, because it is killing off our gut microbes. And that's not a good thing. So what basically the Roundup does is breaks down the gut wall. And within 30 minutes of ingesting a food that has been sprayed with Roundup, within 30 minutes, under a microscope, you can begin to see the gut wall starting to break down. That's how quickly. I wish I could say it was otherwise, but it's not. Now, the good news is there's a test out there from a company called Great Plains Labs where you can actually do a test for the levels of glyphosate, or that's Roundup, in your body. So, and I think I went and measured mine, and I thought, I'm going to come off really, really good because I eat this absolutely pure diet. I'm organic, I'm slightly obsessive compulsive about my diet, and I'm going to come out really clean. And I did my glyphosate testing, and I was in the 50 percentile. And when I talked to the folks at the company, they said, that's good. And I was like horrified. So whatever you can do to avoid Roundup is very, very important because it's doing in your health, it's doing in your gut. And it's really hard to avoid. And it's now even getting into our water system.
And mother's milk.
And mother's milk, absolutely. So just be aware of that. So we really, really want to avoid Roundup and glyphosate as much as possible because it's going to, it'll do in your gut quickly.
Do water purifiers work?
We don't.
Water filters?
I've looked at water filters. I have a reverse osmosis, but it doesn't get 100% stuff out. It gets out some. It gets out a great deal of percentage, but I don't know exactly what percentage of glyphosate is in my water. I should probably get it tested.
I just want to give a shout out to warn people about Whole Foods because since Amazon, Jeff Bezos owns Whole Foods, he thinks glyphosate is great. And they do not label GMOs anymore. So if you shop at Good Earth and you're not getting organic, you're going to get glyphosate. And Jeff Bezos thinks it's the greatest.
Yeah.
You're going to get
Glyphosate.
They haven't banned it. The old Whole Foods at least labeled it, but now they don't even label it.
Glyphosate. Glyphosate is the word for Roundup. Yeah. So glyphosate is Roundup.
Oh.
Circling back from GMOs one more time.
Sure.
If you consider selective breeding a type of genetic modification, then 100% of our food supply has been genetic.
A great deal of it has been.
So
That's why eat as close to nature as possible, eat as organic as much as possible, farm to table as much as possible, know your farmers, know your sources as much as possible. You can't be perfect, you do the best you can.
But selective breeding is very different than genetically modified.
True, that is true, but still there is, and then they actually started genetically modifying wheat back in the 60s to make it more, farmer friendly to grow. But it's gotten, gone downhill from there. So that is a really, really biggie here. And if you do want to test your glyphosate levels, send me an email. My cards are out there on the table, and I can just tell you where you can get the test kit from if you're interested in doing that. It's a P-test, so you're in test. Now, people don't want to hear this, but every single pharmaceutical is bad for your gut. There is no such thing as a safe pharmaceutical. We know that when you have one round of antibiotics, you kill off 30% of your gut flora. And some of 30%
Of your
gut flora, gut microbes.
flora.
Okay? So when you do one round of antibiotics, you kill off approximately 30% of your gut flora. Some of that will not come back. And that's why, again, you have to get very, very aggressive these days. Yeah?
Excuse me, can't you get good bacteria back through, through babies, right?
Well, you can, fecal transplants are possible of getting some flora back. I'm looking at ways, to really increase the flora naturally.
Or
Okay, so I think there's hope. I'm not going to say it's a lost cause. I think there's hope. And I think one of the ways is looking to some of the more ancient strains that are now showing up. that we now have access to. And I'm going to talk about that in just a little bit here, talking about some of these newer strains, and strains that have been, or they're basically the ancient strains. When you go back and start repopulating with the primal ancient strains, there's hope. I actually brought some this evening, and I'll explain about that later. Right. So so think about it, kids who are turning 20 these days, often they've already had 10 rounds of antibiotics. That's kind of scary and frightening. And because every time you do the antibiotics, we got problems. I was actually looking to see if there was any pharmaceutical products that didn't have a negative effect on the gut, and I couldn't find one. So antibiotics are terrible, and I do know that in cases of life or death, it's sometimes the only choice, and in that case, use them, but use them cautiously, use them judiciously, and minimally. So I'm not saying no, but really take a look at, is this really necessary? And is there another way of doing this? And those who've been in my classes before know I have my magic potion, which is a combination of every single naturally occurring antibiotic food. And that's why I call it my magic potion. And make it up, and a few people here have had my magic potion, and it works. You've had my magic potion. You've had my magic potion. Who else has had my magic potion? You've had my magic potion.
If you can survive the taste, you're great.
I wasn't going to say anything.
You can say something. It's not for the faint of heart, but it works. And so it's basically a combination of olive oil, Bragg's apple cider vinegar, raw onion, raw garlic, raw ginger, raw onion, ginger, cayenne. And you put it all into one mixture, and there you go. Some people love it and say it tastes like salad dressing.
Is it a liquid or a pill?
It's a liquid. You make it in your blender. You keep it in the refrigerator. You do a loading dose of 2 to 4 tablespoons, and you take 2 tablespoons, 4 times a day. It'll kick it in the butt.
If the house gets stays too long, you serve it to them.
Absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. That's a way of getting rid of house guests. But it works. It works absolutely.
With those guys, for sure.
Yeah. But I have to warn you, you will smell like garlic. So that's a guarantee. The other drug that's extremely hard on your gut are statins. Statins. Now I have another whole lecture for you about statins for another time. Okay, new information.
Definitely.
No problem. Okay. Right. So pharmaceuticals.
What did you ask, Lisa?
Never know. So pharmaceuticals are really, really hard on your gut.
So maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, but if one of your slightly overweight clients is on statins, and you want to direct them in a different way to get their cholesterol down, what do you do?
Get them off statins pronto. Get them off statins pronto. They've actually now found that statins are actually increase heart failure and cause cancer and cause heart disease.
And they recommend it as just an insurance, even in international.
Yeah, well, that's another whole topic. But I just came across a really interesting paper, which I was reading going, holy moly, this is, everyone should know this. That's never do them willy-nilly. I mean, I'm actually totally anti-statins after reading this latest research. I say statins, if you're on a statin, get off them. There's alternatives.
And that's sort of a, okay, I'll catch up.
What is the other best alternatives to statins?
There's a whole bunch. Okay. But I just wanted to mention that as an aside, because when I read about what statins do to your gut, it's not a pretty picture. And you put the combination of antibiotics and statins together, It creates mayhem in your gut. Right. So the other thing is environmental toxins. And oftentimes people say, oh, environmental toxins, that's how they be, just stuff in our environment. Well, it turns out there are multiple environmental toxins that are having a negative impact on our gut function and gut health. So I started looking at the list. Chlorine. Chlorine kills gut flora. Fluoride kills gut flora. So now you're thinking, well, I'm not drinking chlorinated water because I have my filter or bottled water, get these big things. But if you're taking a shower in chlorine, you're breathing in chlorine and it's being absorbed through the skin. People don't think about that. You're not going to shower anymore. If your water has fluoride, fluoride is a gut toxin as well. So chlorine and fluoride, two there, right there. You know these lovely hand sanitizers? Okay? They kill gut flora. Now you think, I'm just putting them on my hands, but it turns out if you put them on your hands, it gets into your body. So no hand sanitizers. The old soap and water. Yes?
What about alcohol? I use alcohol sometimes to, and also hydrogen peroxide.
Hydrogen peroxide is not a problem.
Okay.
Okay.
What about alcohol?
Alcohol in just small amounts is not going to be a problem.
Yeah, I don't mean drinking it.
I know what you mean.
Putting it on my skin.
I wouldn't put it on your skin unless you're doing an injection of
That's
some
what
kind.
I'm talking
Yeah, that's fine.
And then there are hand sanitizers that are
If you find something natural.
like eco and those
Yeah,
that
that's-
don't have the crack.
That's different, yeah.
No, public swimming pools have some chlorine in them.
You don't want to go in those swimming pools because you're going to absorb it right through your skin. So it's best if you're going to go in a pool, make sure it's ozonated, not chlorine. And you just think about those lovely baths, don't do it in chlorinated water, because it just goes right through the skin barrier, it gets into your body. All artificial sweeteners act as an antibiotic and kill gut flora. So if you get off any artificial sweetener.
Stevia?
Sorry?
Stevia?
Stevia? Stevia is okay. Stevia and a little bit of raw honey is safe, but
Stevia is not an artificial sweetener.
I was making sure, I was just going to make sure.
yeah, it's from a plant. So,
I have a question on the baths. You said are there tablets or anything that you use to dechlorinate or?
there's actually one thing that I have found: if you can't do a whole house, filtration system, there is a company called Filters Fast that have these balls that you can drag around in your bathtub that will neutralize some of the chlorine.
What about a shower?
Shower, you want to filter? You want to do a shower filter. And there are, pardon?
Does this company make them?
No. But you really want a high quality shower filter. So when you shower, you're not showering in chlorine, and you're not breathing in chlorine. So people don't think about these little things. Yeah.
Was that Filters Fast?
Mm-hmm. And if that is incorrect, if you have my business card, you have my email on there, email me, I'll clarify that. In case I screwed up. Right. Also turns out that these, like Febreze, and there's, those air center thingies, also kills gut flora. So, Febreze. Any of those fake artificial smell thingies also affects gut flora. You see, it's like everywhere. That's why it's so important to be conscious and know where the problem areas are. Okay. turns out that all vaccinations have a negative impact on gut flora. I read your mind.
But, I mean, just to help you out here, I mean, you're not suggesting people don't have their kids vaccinated, you're just making us aware that that's a side effect. You're not
Correct.
advocating against vaccination.
I'm basically saying that be aware of this. If you choose to vaccinate, that's your choice. Do it in a logical, safe way. It will have an impact on gut flora.
Fair enough.
Okay. So, and I don't want to go on and say, don't ever vaccinate, because I think that's your choice. I just want you to know the impact. Okay. All right. No exercise. Your gut does not like it when you sit in your butt. Your gut wants you working out. Your gut wants you, exercising. Your gut likes you to exercise. It's saying, please exercise me. So if you exercise, or since you are exercising, right, you will have a much, much happier gut. Okay? So don't sit on your butt, work that butt.
What's the correct amount of time after you have a medium-sized meal to do a workout?
Whenever you feel like it.
What's that?
Whenever you feel like it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You could do it within a half an hour?
Yeah, as long as you feel okay. Listen to your gut.
Okay.
If your gut says do it, do it. Okay? The gut knows. It is a source of infinite intelligence. It's speaking to you. It says when to feed me. It says when to rest me. It says when to give me a break. Your gut knows.